Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisum, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com.
Have you ever wondered if there was just one step between you and the kind of impact that you want to have with your songs? Do you get frustrated with all the noise out there that's promising you things they can't deliver, all the hype and clamoring about their version of success and how you just need to buy into it? Or do you ever pray and ask God, what's the one thing that I need most to fulfill this call that I feel you've placed on me? Hey everyone, great to have you back with us for another episode of the Song Revolution. This week, I'm going to do some serious coaching and help you find some greater perspective on what could be the single most important step that you can take in becoming the songwriter that you want to be and even feel like you were born to be. I mean, destiny is just no frivolous word to me, and I bet, especially if you listen to the show a lot, that you feel some sense of destiny and God's call on you, and you need and deserve the right answers and perspectives. At least I think so, and that's why we do what we do here at NCS. But before I get into the coaching I want to bring to you today, let me encourage you to jump over to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com right now to check out NCS membership. I'm going to be talking a bit today about the power of community and how it enhances everything you do as you find your particular place in it. And NCS membership offers you a high-level, decidedly Christian community of passionate songwriters after the same thing that you are, to use your gifts for God, to get your songs out there and to be heard. NCS membership costs about the same as 4 lattes a month, so you do the math. Get a little less caffeine and a whole lot more song power by joining NCS membership today. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode last week with David Leonard, formerly of All Sons and Daughters, Need to Breathe, and Jackson Waters. So many killer moments with him, and I just love his transparency. He just lays it all out, doesn't he? If you heard it, I mean, go listen. I just can't say enough about that episode. And the new album, The Wait, out now on Integrity Music. It's just got a fresh sonic quality that I was really surprised by at first. It's very different from All Sons and Daughters, but the 55-minute short film just locked it all in for me so amazingly. Definitely worth your time, so check it out. And if you're looking for a way to be heard by real Nashville publishers and music people, the upcoming NCS Weekend Intensive, July 18th through 20, right here in Nashville, offers you 3 days of personal coaching, teaching, and connecting with current music industry influencers like John Mays at Centricity Music, which is the home of Lauren Daigle, almost a double platinum, Jason Gray, who's been on the show, Johnny Diaz, Andrew Peterson, who wrote the great big song, Is He Worthy, that has been recently recorded by Chris Tomlin, and so many more. People like Tom Jackson, who is a live music producer, who's done 3 Taylor Swift tours and has worked with so many Christian artists, people like Lecrae and Phillips Craig and Dean, Francesca Battistelli, and so many more. You'll be able to interact with the entire NCS coaching staff, including yours truly, and some awesome God moments that just no one can even predict. So come on out. The NCS Weekend Intensive is just unlike any other songwriting event because you get up close and personal with powerful people and get your songs heard by people who can really help you take them to the next level. If you register by July 10, you'll save $100, and NCS members save even more. So check it all out over at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. All right, so what's on my heart to share with you guys today is what I consider to be the most important thing you can do right now to step up your songwriting success. This was kind of stirred up in me this week by a post I read on Facebook from a producer here in town that I've known for a lot of years, Sal Oliveri. He's too booked up to do a show right now. He said maybe later on because he's producing people like Pink and Kathy Lee Gifford and some other incredible people. But you know what? He's been at it for a couple of decades, and I'm sure not always at this high of a level, but he's having a whole lot of success. So congratulations congratulations, Sal. We're rooting for you, and thank you for this post. It was just the coolest kind of a post for me, because it kind of summed up a whole lot of feelings and things that I have and that I say to aspiring songwriters. And so the post, I'm going to read it to you a couple of times so you can get it, but his post reads, "If I could convince new artists of anything, it would be," and then he lists 8 things, right? So he's working with a lot of new artists. We're working with a whole lot of new songwriters. And so I felt like these things really totally 100% applied to you guys as aspiring songwriters, and just wanted to share it out. So he says, if I could convince new artists of anything, it would be, number 1, you're capable of more than you realize. Number 2, your story really does matter. Number 3, define your goal before you start spending money. Number 4, your success is largely tied to your willingness to develop and persevere. Number 5, no one is going to scoop you out of obscurity. It's up to you to present yourself to the world. Number 6, get help from others who can help you do what you do better. Number 7, be consistent. Number 8, when in doubt, go back to number 1. Now, each of these points could be an entire episode here on the show. We could talk in depth about each of them, but just let me repeat them so that you don't miss it. And then I want to highlight the one that I think could be your most important step right now, thanks to Sal Oliveri. Let me read it again. Number 1, if I could convince new artists of anything, it would be, you're capable of more than you realize. Your story really does matter. Define your goals before you start spending money. Your success is largely tied to your willingness to develop and persevere. No one is going to scoop you out of obscurity. It's up to you to present yourself to the world. Get help from others who can help you do what you do better. Be consistent. And then finally, number 8, when in doubt, go back to number 1. Maybe I could comment briefly about each one and why I think these are all incredible things to realize. Number 1, as a new artist, as a new songwriter, you're capable of more than you realize. I mean, that's just so true. But self-belief will only get you so far without knowledge of what's possible. You don't know what you don't know. I find people often start to sense talent in themselves and never realize that talent has got to be accompanied by skill to be effective. Talent alone never wins the day. Talent has to be developed, honed, challenged, and refined. You are capable of more, but maybe a whole lot more, but merely knowing that doesn't make it happen. If nothing else, though, it should light a spark in you to realize you're not operating at peak levels and you could be doing so much more with your talents. I just really believe that. Number 2, your story really does matter. I love this one. And yes, your story matters. The challenge comes in addressing your story in a way that a lot of people could identify with. Just writing another song about your divorce or your addiction or your brokenness doesn't engage a broader audience. Just singing out this laundry list of horrible stuff and then tacking Jesus on it really isn't the goal here. The world is filled with a lot of pain, and our challenge is to redeem it. I mean, I didn't say pretty it up, but redeem it by allowing thousands of others to identify with your story, not to cloak it in obscure language or ineffective production, weak melodies, or just overall just poor delivery of this thing. It's always been like this, though, you guys. The best storytellers are the ones who can draw people of all ages and ethnicities, all kinds of people into their story to own it as if it's their own. Let me give you a couple of examples. Anyone who's felt the power of worship loves to sing, "Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul," right? I mean, just kind of evokes that, right? Or kind of on the flip side, anyone who's ever known the pain of a one-sided love can identify with Bonnie Raitt when she sings, "I can make you love me if you don't." All apologies to Bonnie and to the writers of that song. But it's really true, right? I mean, the reason that the best of classic hymns stay fresh decade after decade is that they were written with a universality that includes all of us. Like when we all want to hit the high notes on "How great thou art, how great thou art, Or great is thy faithfulness, etc., right? I mean, it just pulls us all in, and that's why those songs live on and on. And the greatest songwriters know how to make their stories your story too. But if you're just mired in your own pain, you're going to reach a much smaller audience than if you learn how to redeem it. And then number 3, define your goal before you start spending money. I wish every day that I had the money spent in this town on producing really bad songs. It's just crazy to me, but I remember doing it myself years ago when I kind of became enamored with the fact that I had written something. I mean, just anything that I could take to a studio and hear my song and my voice singing and my words and my melody. But Sal's admonition here is so outstanding. And I say spend your dollars on learning how to write phenomenal songs long before you spend money producing mediocre ones. I mean, it only makes sense, right? I mean, have you ever just become so enamored with a house or a car or a boat or a bunch of clothes or anything that you purchased without thinking through it well enough to understand what's really going on? I mean, it happens every day here in Nashville and probably all over the world. Songwriters get excited about the idea of writing great songs and think recording their songs professionally is the only thing that they need to be discovered. If I can just get this song, recorded by some guys in Nashville, then people are going to hear it and love it and I'm going to be a hit. But professional recording is to a song what a microscope is to about anything else, right? It only amplifies the blemishes and the weaknesses of your song. If your song's not ready, recording it here in Nashville or at some pro studio in your town isn't going to make it a better song. The coaching that we do at NCS is what I call pre-studio or pre-production. I mean, don't spend money until you're 100% confident that you can sell enough of what you're recording to recoup and then make some money. Or I guess you could just save yourself the trouble and send the money to me. Or not. Okay. So number 4, your success is largely tied to your willingness to develop and persevere. Success for songwriters, even at the local church level, requires tenacity and a whole lot of perseverance for sure. But one weird thing that I've encountered is that some songwriters are trying to be tenacious about songs they wrote 15 years ago and sometimes become really obnoxious with me about it. If I'm on a phone call with a potential client for our boot camp or whatever, I've had people really throw this arrogant, tenacious kind of, I don't even know what to call it, and be nice here, at me as if I owe it to them to take them seriously when they're just really not, they're not advanced at all with what they're trying to do, but they're trying to bluff their way in. That's not tenacity. That is just obnoxious. Tenacity means that you keep growing, changing with culture, and adapting yourself to what people will enjoy with your songs and the things they will consume to find the success you want. In other words, you've got to develop and persevere in the right way. Keep developing yourself. Keep persevering as you learn and grow, not just enforcing yourself on people that are remotely associated with the music business here in Nashville. Enough about that. Number 5, no one is going to scoop you out of obscurity. It's up to you to present yourself to the world. This point and the next one are getting very close to the heart of what I wanted to share with you today. Your expectation that anyone should care about what you're writing is naive. Okay, that was really blunt, but it's never more true than in Christian songwriting because every aspiring Christian songwriter feels God tugging at their hearts and believes that the world should know it and should care. But it just doesn't happen that way, you guys. I've had people get mad at me when I start explaining these things because they fantasize about God magically opening doors for their undeveloped talents, and they want to win Grammys and Dove Awards with no preparation or investment on their part. They just want to walk into it. They feel this passion. They feel this desire. They fantasize about getting into this thing, and they think that those stages are just going to open up and people are going to give them awards for something that they have not earned. But the people who win those awards have invested for years in themselves and in their careers. Can I say that again? I was at the K-Love Fan Awards the other night, and it was a songwriter showcase with Stephen Curtis Chapman and Mark Hall and Danny Goki and some other great people. Francesca Battistelli was there. So just a great roster. There's some other people I can't think of, but just a great lineup of people that have been at this for a long time, right? And there they were singing these classic songs, most of them. And I know what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, I know that the publishers and labels invest millions of dollars in their artists and writers. Millions. Did you hear me, guys? Millions of dollars go into these artists. And these writers, these artists themselves invest and invest and invest. But it's just the craziest thing. New writers think because they've felt inspired by God to pursue this, and they've written 8 songs 5 years ago, that they should be taken seriously and listened to. Well, I don't mean to sound harsh. I really don't. But guys, this isn't the land of Oz. It's, where the little munchkins are running around and where Dorothy is there and the Tin Man and the Wizard and all that. This isn't that, you guys. This is the kingdom of God. This is the time and the place to rise up to a real calling and to really go after this with sanity. Let's stop the insanity. Let's stop the fantasies around how all this happens. Roll up our sleeves. If you want to rise to top levels in music, you got to put your heart and soul and investment in it. Yes, financially. Yes, prayers. Yes, read your Bible. Yes, go to church. But you've got to do something serious to get to this level. I mean, people, still come to the top. People say, I read something on one of our Facebook groups where someone was talking about the Nashville thing being such a tight-knit group that you can't get in. And, I understand why people say that, because people who are established, it feels like they've got all the slots. But, then people like Zach Williams just kind of blow into town, who's now 2-time Grammy winner. He's been on the show with us. He's a pretty new artist, and his kind of rough and tumble Chris Stapleton-style country music has won a huge audience for him, a couple of Grammys already in just a couple of years. And then, one of my dear friends is John Mays over at Centricity Music, signed Lauren Daigle, just this little singer. And I know she'd been auditioned on American Idol, but, she got the deal over at Centricity. No one knew she was going to blow up to just about double platinum and be the surprise darling of the late night shows, the Billboard Awards, and Christian and secular radio charts alike, despite being really kind of new as a recording artist. So, you can do this. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you can become a double platinum diva like Lauren Daigle, but, these artists decided how they wanted to present themselves to the world, as Sal put it. And you'll need to do the same or remain in obscurity, only wishing you had tried harder to go for it. Okay, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of preaching. Maybe I am, but that's okay. I mean, we got to get these things down. We got to have the right perspective, you guys, and Sal is helping us to do that. So number 6, get help from others who can help you do what you do better. Okay, so full disclosure, this is the big point for me. And the number one thing that you can do for yourself today to take giant strides toward fulfilling this very real call that you feel to write amazing songs is to get some help, right? I mean, I talk to writers. You've probably heard me say this. I have personally, this isn't my staff, this is me. I've talked to over 1,000 aspiring songwriters who got on the phone with me to learn about NCS Boot Camp and understand what that was all about. And without fail, every single one of them said they were called to this by God. They felt inspiration and they would do anything to fulfill this call, right? And so a certain number of them came into the boot camp, and we're helping people get artist deals and get publishing and co-write with some of the top people in town, get songs on the radio. That's all happening, you guys. But very, very few people really rose to that. Very few people really took us up on the help that we know that we can bring. And you know what? I used to feel, I'm kind of being transparent today, but, I used to think, really, Lord, are all these people really called? I mean, they get on the phone. I know they feel it. I know they want it. I know they fantasize about it. But are they really called? And then one day, I felt the Lord just in my heart say, yes, they're called. Every single one of them are called. Now, it's kind of like the scripture where Jesus said, many are called, but few are chosen. And I don't want to mess with the scriptures at all, right? I don't want to get into that territory. But I believe that every person who feels this call to write great songs and communicate their heart to Jesus is 100% called. I believe it. I just now have realized that the vast majority of people don't really believe in their calling enough to invest in their calling. They're not really, and I'm not even talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm talking about even small increments. You got to invest, you guys. I mean, the old maxim that all you've got to do to write great songs is to write a lot of them, that's just 100% bunk. It's just not true. I know songwriters who've written the same song 297 times, and it's still not going to be a hit the 298th time. I mean, yeah, write a lot, but write using the highest level of skills so that you're not wasting your songwriting time along the way. Pro songwriters write hundreds of songs a year, and they know they'll get a certain percentage of them cut. Our friend, integrity songwriter Chrissy Nordoff, writes an average of 300 songs a year, and she's got around a 10% cut ratio, I think she said to our intensive group one time. Kenna Turner West is a Curb word entertainment writer, and she writes around the same annually, I believe. We do some co-writing. She's incredibly active in pitching her songs. She's very, very well connected, been doing this for decades. She's got over 35 number one songs to her credit and hundreds more recorded. It's just a monster, But these guys, they're writing at a very high level. They've been developing it. They invested over many years in themselves, and that's what you've got to do as well. I've read that coaching can increase your effectiveness between 500 and 800%, and I can personally attest to that. When I look back on the coaches and mentors that I've had throughout my life and ministry and career, I'm just astounded at the high-level mentors that I've had very close access to. I mean, as a very young man, I wound up on staff and in a singing group that traveled with the late Kenneth E. Hagin. He was a famous preacher and healing evangelist. I learned a lot from him and the people that were in that world at the time. I was a very young Christian. I was very new. I was watching as miracles happened. It was huge. I was suddenly went from singing my little songs at this little Baptist church in Memphis, Tennessee, to being in front of 10,000 people. And it was awesome. It was cool. Learned a lot. And then when that season ended, I wound up being closely associated with Bill and Gloria Gaither, Gary McSpadden, and a host of other now really famous, iconic songwriters and artists who spoke often into my life and who imparted a lot of what I teach and coach with here at Nashville Christian Songwriters. And I've had several other important mentors whose names you might not recognize, but who've really accomplished amazing things. Daryl Harris is one of them. Daryl is founder of Star Song Media. It was eventually kind of swallowed up by some other companies, but I was VP of Publishing there for a season. And then Don Moen at Integrity Music. I was there for a number of years, managing 18 full-time songwriters and overseeing about 200 pieces of product that helped really shape the world of worship. And both of those men, and you might know Don's name more than Daryl's, but man, they just spoke so much into my life and challenged me in ways that I needed to be challenged. And they looked at my songs and they helped me understand how to write at a very high level. Now, Don Moen was recently inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame for his lifetime and ongoing contributions to worship and Christian music. He's just a marvelous musician and worship leader who has a worldwide following in the millions, and I really admire Don. Don, man, congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. You deserve it, man. You have just poured yourself out for millions of people, and I'm one of them. Thank you so much. And Daryl and the late Dr. Hagen, Dr. Robert E. Weber of the Institute for Worship Studies, and on and on. But each mentor I've had has given me very specific gifts that I could use to create the kind of songs and the kind of success that I really felt God called me to. Just because God's called you to something doesn't mean it's going to happen. You've got to apply your hand to the plow, right? Everybody needs mentors, and I'm so thankful for the gifts that each one have given me to create this success. And it can be that way for you too, but not if you don't think you need any help. It's amazing to me that Christian songwriters often think they don't need to learn anything about songwriting because it's a gift from God. Many tell me they wrote a whole song in 10 or 15 minutes as it was downloaded from on high. And when I hear it, it sounds like someone jotted down random words and melodies in about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm sorry, you guys, but I just can't name one long-lasting song that anyone claimed was a direct download. The iconic Dallas home song Rise Again was written in a few minutes, he says, but Dallas was already a skilled and active songwriter and artist at the time. I don't count that as a miracle. It's kind of cool. He wrote it really fast, but he already knew how. He was already deeply, involved in music at the time. Now, I should probably correct myself here because there is one notable case that I know of in the world where a seemingly little educated peasant girl in China named Zhao Min receives or writes her songs under inspiration, I think originally out in the fields with the cassette tape. I'm not even sure, but they're called the Canaan hymns, and they've been widely sung throughout China in both the state church and in small churches. But that's a very unique situation. It's very supernatural, of course, but that's the radical exception to what we're even talking about. Now, before you go get angry with me, ask yourself, am I being the best steward I can be of the talent God's given, or am I blaming him for underwritten songs? Now, it's a legitimate question. If we aspire to be heard by a large number of people, we must aspire to greater levels of skill in language, melody, and guys, the entire craft of songwriting. And that's where great coaching comes in, and we're here to help you bridge that gap if you want our help. Like Sal said, get help from others at whatever level you can access it. All right, so number 7, be consistent. Consistency is the key to success in anything, right? Marriage, parenting, or whatever. Just slapping at something, like my mama used to say, gets you nowhere. AA says half-hearted measures availed us nothing. And it's true when it comes to the art of crafting songs that have a chance of outliving you. You just can't get anywhere in this thing until you give yourself wholeheartedly to it. And I think that applies to a whole lot of our lives. And then number 8, Sal says, when in doubt, go back to number 1. Well, okay, wait, what was number 1? Oh yeah, you are capable of more than you realize or can even imagine from where you are right now. A couple of maxims come to mind right now, like the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, and the other one I like, become a student and the teacher will appear, as well as many scriptures that point to the high and, I think, holy calling that we have to co-labor with God. That's in 1 Corinthians 3:9. And Jesus just said all over the place that he's given us his power. He's called us to the vineyard. So many of the parables were about stewardship. Matthew 25, parable of the talents. And he's called us to steward this gift, not just, wait for him to drop, these inspiration bombs on us. He's already done everything he's going to do to inspire us. We've got Jesus. He is all the inspiration that we need. So now it's time to get the skills and go at this thing and change the world, man. Just change the world. I hope that this has been very helpful to you today, and a big push to go after your dreams for Jesus and to make him even more famous through your songwriting. And here's a special shout out to our buddy producer Sal Oliveri for today's outline. You get all the credit, man. Thank you so much. Guys, you were born to be heard, and NCS is here to help. Check it all out over at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com, and especially NCS membership, where you can get the best best in Christian song coaching and resources. We all need community. We're not designed by God to go this alone. We need each other. We need that iron sharpening iron. We need the feedback. We need to feel the power of community, and that's what we're all about at NCS Membership. We've got a great show lined up for you next week with Joe Rojas and the gang from Seventh Day Slumber, the classic Christian rock band, and you're going to hear how they're raising up new generations of rockers and the impact that this ministry is still having after 20 years on the road. Great stuff. Loved that interview, and I hope to see you in Nashville July 18th through 20th for the upcoming NCS Weekend Intensive. Jump over to the website, register today, save some bucks, and I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time. Hey, what a fantastic show today. I hope you caught all the value bombs that were dropped on this one and that you'll begin to immediately incorporate them into your songwriting. You know, you can get even more valuable songwriting tools and inspiration when you join NCS membership. You can become a part of a growing community of songwriters from around the world and tap into some of the most powerful resources available to step you up in your songwriting destiny. Check out NCS membership now at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and get ready for some exponential power to help you fulfill your call to write. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.